in broadcasting.
Welcome back from the break. You're watching Home Potter on Benin Television, Makudi. Today we are going to be looking at shaping the destinies of children. You would want to watch this because we want to know how you can shape the destiny of a child. And we have with us people who are going to help us to do that. On my left, I have a very beautiful couple. We have with us Professor Adejo Musa James and his beautiful wife, Dr. Adejo Gloria Otini. They are both staff of Joseph Sanwo and Taka University, Makodi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's good to have you with us. You look good. We also have with us Mrs. Grace Tokula. She is a volunteer worker at with Child Evangelical Fellowship here in Makodi. Welcome to Home Potter.
Thank you.
So, Child Evangelical Fellowship. What, very quickly in one sentence, what do you people do?
Well, in Child Evangelism Fellowship, we reach out to children.
Okay, just reaching out to children. How do you get these children? Children are in homes or they are in schools. How do you?
Okay, we reach out to them through so many programs.
Okay.
But our major program, which is the heartbeat of CEF, is Good News Club.
Okay.
Good News Club is a fellowship where a trained teacher meets with children from the neighborhood just for 1 hour in a week. Then we have programs like school programs. They give us opportunity on assembly grounds for maybe 20 minutes, and we go and reach out to the children there. Then we reach out through parties. When there's a birthday party, they invite us.
Okay. Okay, that's a good one there. So, Prof and Doctor. Wow, I love that. How do your children feel? This is very intimidating. I hope. Are you grooming some of them to also go into the academia like you, or they are free to just choose any career of their choice?
Well, children, they have their talents, they have their giftings. So we allow them, we get to know their interests, and then we try to guide them towards their direction. They may not necessarily grow up to be academics like us. We study
But
their
they
interests.
must be academically successful.
Yeah, they are.
You always tell them,
They're doing
I'm
well
a
in school.
professor.
Mm.
We can't have
So
this.
you have to do well in school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was on a lighter note. So let's look at parenting. In those days, parents were always stern and then firm because they had to call us to order. We needed to be at our best. Once a father comes back, everyone is at attention. Wherever you are, you need to put yourself in order. But these days, we hear that parents need to be friends with their children, and you need to befriend them. And there are times when you put on your parenting cap. There are times when you change and you have become a friend and all that. Tell us about parenting and friendship. Where does this come in? Do that stern parents at all times part versus this one where you merge it? Which one is actually working better?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. The issue of parenting, nobody can claim to know it all. We have all had our diverse experiences and all that. But by and large, I think parents should strive as much as possible to be friends to their children. Those days actually, when you hear that your father is coming, you have to arrange yourself well and all that. And the children are so scared of the parents to the extent that there are certain things that they wish to share with the parents, but they cannot because of the tough posture and the autocratic way of bringing up children and all that. That has not helped. So we encourage that parents as much as possible, bring your children closer to yourself, make them your friends. There's no gain in terrorizing your own children.
Terrorizing in quotes.
In quotes. You know,
Terrorizing.
because I know of some, daddies coming home and children are running at us, daddy's around, you have to be careful, and all that. It's not in the best interest of children training and all that. I have a colleague that, is so friendly with the children to the extent that they sit together, when they come back from work and all that, they sit together, they share experiences to the extent that the children even tell their father certain experiences they have had in the daytime and all that. And through that, as you bring them closer, you'll be able to also counsel them and put them on the right track. But if that tough posture is there that they cannot feel free with you as parents to open up to you, then definitely they will open up to some other person who may not be able to guide them properly.
So how do you draw that line? Because you can become friends to the extent that the influence is now on you, the parent, and you go very easy on them. That sometimes certain things are not good for them, but they insist, and you allow them have their way because you want to remain as friends. And in some homes, we have a situation where maybe one parent is stern and the other is a friend, and he doesn't want the children to perceive him as being difficult. He wants to remain the friendly one. So you just go on. So where do we draw the line between friendship and then insisting on what is right as a parent?
Thank you. Well, for a growing child, you have to set rules. Let them know the rules and why you are setting the rules. You don't just leave them like that. You set rules. The values you want to instill in them, they should know. And why they should learn those values, they should also know. But in instilling, the values, you must not be harsh. If you are harsh, you will lose them. Something just happened, I think, 2 days back in the house. My girl that is helping me at home, we prepared, we ate rice the previous night, and then when the rice remained, we put it in the freezer. So in the morning, I had some visitors, so I was also making rice and stew in the morning. So I told her to bring out the one we put in the freezer yesterday. Let's warm it and let's eat it before this one. So she brought it out, she warmed the rice, and I took out of it. Then I asked her to take and eat. Later when I came to the kitchen, she was taking the white rice, to go and eat. So I said, I told you to eat this one first. I started explaining to her that this one is not bad. We kept it in the fridge and all that. She shouldn't do that. And she said, okay, she's sorry. And my daughter was standing behind. Later she came to me. She said, Mommy, you are too easy. You are not supposed to do that. When we were growing up, you didn't take it easy with us. Why are you? So I sat her down. I said, I made a mistake.
Oh, you made a mistake. Because
I was so...
grandmothers are so lenient with the grandchildren. And sometimes their kids will be like, my mom never tolerated this when I was a child. And then when he's a kid, allow them, these children, leave them.
No, why I actually told her that was that I have not taught this girl. And we're told that anything you have not taught, you don't have to
reprimand.
Yes. If you have not told her before, so I now explained it to her. But if it happens again, then you can decide. When it happens the second time, I can tell her that I corrected you the other time and it has happened. Now, when it happens again, this is what I'm going to do. You understand? So when it happens the third time, you will know that she's doing it purposely, and then you can be firm. So whatever you have not corrected, you must not discipline your child.
Wow, that's a serious one.
Yes.
Okay, a child, not an adult.
Well,
not a teenager.
She's about 14 years.
That's
But since she came, I've not really sat her down to
Okay.
tell her if food remain. Most times when it remains like that, my husband will say, just warm it for me, you know.
Okay.
But she has not been the one.
We understand that. So let's look at very quickly. Let's look at factors that shape the lives of the children. Now let's hear from you, doctor.
Thank you very much. There are a number of factors that can shape the destiny or the life of a child positively. You know, you can mold the life of a child negatively. So we are looking at the positive aspect of exerting influence, that will bring about a responsible child, a child that has good values, a child with a very good behavior. Those are those ones we are looking at this moment. As a parent, you know that the first time a child came into the world, he or she had contact with you, particularly the mother.
Yeah.
And then for the first few days, they are so close to you, close to the father and everyone. So they look up onto you as their role model, although not spoken, but that's who you are to them. The way you live your life, rubs off on the child you're raising. How do you address people? What do you say out of your mouth? Do you use vulgar words when addressing people? Do you teach them, in practice to tell lies?
Teach them in practice.
Yes, to tell lies. For instance, someone comes to your house and they ask for food or money. You have this money, they know you have this money, and then you go on to tell them in the presence of the child that you do not have money. Okay? And then the person goes away. You don't take your time to explain to the child that, okay, I told this person that I don't have this money because this money is actually meant for something. You just kept mute like that. Now, when that child comes across somebody else or a situation like that, he tells that person, oh, I don't have it. Meanwhile, he has it. Or I'm not around. Meanwhile, he's there. You are teaching that child in practice, to imbibe a behavior that is not correct. Now, you can also influence the destiny of a child, by becoming their friend. How do you become a friend of your child? The relationship is like, I'm higher and then you are lower. But there must be a binding line, a place where there must be coherence. So you come to their level. Make sure you pay active attention to whatever they say. Listen very well and then give them the right counsel. You tell them this is why you should do this is why you shouldn't do that. Okay, make out time to go to their rooms, stay with them, lie on their bed, okay, and talk with them. How was your day today in school? What happened and everything? Then you'll be able to give the right instructions or counsel to that child. Also, make out time to take them out. Take them out, be interested in what they are interested in, play with them, okay, and then guide them, supervise them, ensure that their friends are your friends. So in that manner, they know that, oh, that is down to earth with me. So whatever goes wrong or whatever is going on right with them, they tell you, and as a parent, you'll be able to channel their thoughts and their actions correctly.
Wow, that's a good one. So I do have more factors.
Okay.
That can actually.
Well, see, the issue of child upbringing is the duty of the parents, the father, the mother. And it's always good. And as much as we're talking about making them your friends, it's also important that you are firm where you're expected to be firm. You can have situations where the man may be weak, expect the woman to be able to compliment. I remember when we were in secondary school, we used to have a principal that was somehow weak in quote, even though a man, but was more of a mother to us.
Wow.
We usually look at him as a mother. Then we had a vice principal that was a father to us. So if you get into trouble and the vice principal is to discipline you, you know what to expect. And sometimes you have a situation where the principal will even, you know, you are asked to go and do manual labor and all that. The principal will even come around and, I'm sorry, this thing, don't do it again. Sometimes you won't help you to cut the grass and all that. So we can have that kind of situation in the home where, you know, as couples we're supposed to complement each other.
Yeah.
If you see that the man is not coming up this way, coming up, you have to see how you can, come in to ensure that the child is brought up properly. And that's how we can influence the destiny of children positively. And this thing boils down to having a home that is also united. When the home is united, there's harmony in the home. It will be easy to, carry out some of these responsibilities. But once there's a division, and the children perceive that there's even a problem in the home, because daddy and mommy are not united. Daddy is saying another thing, mommy is saying another thing. They're not helping the child. Because the child will be confused. Like, is it to follow the mother? Is it to follow the father and all that? And sometimes there could even be politics in the home where, the child may feel the mother loves me more, the father doesn't love me, and is tilting towards the mother side and all that. So above all, parents must be united and must be resolute in standing firm to ensure that the children are brought up properly, the way they are supposed to come up.
Okay. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. We have been looking at shaping the destinies of children. And just before the break, they were talking about some of the factors that shape the lives of children. So let's hear from you, Mrs. Topola.
In addition to all they have said, I want to talk about the spiritual factors that shape the lives of these children. As a Christian, we believe that the destination, so to say, the destiny of a child, according to the mind of God, is that the child will grow to become like Christ. You can find that in Romans chapter 8, verse 29. That those God knew, he predestined to become like Christ, so that Jesus Christ will be like the firstborn among many brethren. So the destination that God has spelled out for us as Christians is that these children will become like Him. But most times we make mistake thinking that because I am a Christian, my husband is a Christian, and the child is born into a Christian home, we take him to church and all that. We just assume, that he grows into Christianity. But we know that the Bible says every child is conceived in iniquity. We carry the nature of sin that we inherited from our forefathers, Adam. So I believe my own first step in shaping the destiny of that child is to lead him to Christ. When the child is led to Christ, he will now carry the nature of Jesus Christ. And having that nature, whatever we do outwardly will help shape the life and destiny of the child. But if the child does not have the nature of Jesus, that means he has not accepted Christ. Whatever you do, there's a saying that no matter how you feed a lizard, the lizard can never become an alligator. So whatever we do, as long as he's carrying that nature, he'll just grow up to be a fat lizard. That nature will not be changed. So our first priority is to make sure that the child has the nature of God, and then whatever we do after that, God helping us, we will grow into the kind of person that God expects him to be.
Okay. Do we have more factors?
Yes. very much. That's a good starting point, actually, to introduce the child to Christ. And I believe that every religion, is out to teach a good character
Yeah.
in human beings. So, introducing the child to Christ or to other religious beliefs, very, very important. But in addition to that, we also have to live exemplary lives for the children to see. When they are very young, they are very good at imitation.
Yeah.
They see what you do, they watch what you do, and all that. So it's important that we, as parents, live exemplary lives. Show them example. Sometimes you can say something and then do the opposite of what you are saying.
Yeah.
Children, they are very good at seeing such contradictions, and it will help them very well. So we must show them good examples. We want them to go this way. Show them that you are also, doing that same thing. When they see you do what you are telling them, to help to shape them properly.
Right.
I want to add also that prayer is very crucial when bringing up children. When we're looking at the spiritual dimension of bringing up children, we can't do and we can't do without prayers, because there are times that having done everything humanly possible, the child still does not turn out the way you
Yes.
expect him or the way he should turn out. So now what do? We go back to God, because I believe that without God we can do nothing. So in raising children, prayer is also crucial. Let them see you pray. Let them know that prayer is important. No matter how trivial the issue is that they bring to you, take it to God in prayers with them, and it will turn out fine.
Okay. So I wanted us to look at the relationship between the parent's personality and the child's behavior. Are there certain things that are part of a parent's personality type that will ultimately be seen in the life of the child and eventually affect his destiny?
So many things. There's so many things. In fact, we were told that you don't teach only with your words. That your personality is what instructs the child more than the words we speak. So we have to check if there's any area we need to change. We have to check and change. If not, it will affect the child. If you are the shouting type, any small thing you shout, any small thing you shout, you see that this child is growing up, he becomes the shouting type. If you are the type that shows love, in fact, most times when we are not around and children, they like their play, their major play is playing mommy and daddy or school or church, and when they want to play mommy, you will see, if mommy is the shouting type, you will see that the person acting will just be shouting and all that. So our personality, there are things we can pass across to these children without even saying a word. If, for example, you want these children to imbibe the culture of reading, we're told that you as the parent should also read. Let them see you doing it.
Wow.
Let them see you reading. In fact, any book I read when my children are not around and they come back and I want them to read it, I'll start telling them how interesting the book is and all that, and they will see me reading. This one will say, mommy, when you are done, please give me. This one will say, mommy, when you are done, please give me. So if you want your children to read, if you set time 8 to 9, sit at the table and read. That 8 to 9, come and sit with them. Not that the children will be reading and you will be in the parlor watching television, or you will be doing. Just let them see you. Once they see you doing it, you will see
And
that
there has been a decline in the reading culture.
reading culture, and that is what we have to go back to. The reading culture. When you have a baby, even if the baby doesn't understand, open a book and read to that child. And you know, we don't have the culture of bedtime stories, but it's very, very helpful. As they are growing, get story books, read it out, you know, for them. And when you discover that they are old enough, they will go for the books. You know, in fact, at times you see children, they'll come around and say, Mommy, tell me that story. You know, that story you told me yesterday, or read that book for me again.
Yeah.
So we must just make sure that these children read.
I would also want to add that there are some factors that make up our personality. You know, we have the genetic predisposition, we have the environmental factors, we also have social factors as well. So now, when you know that genetically you are predisposed to anger, you work hard at, you know, changing it, either reducing it or eliminating it completely. Now, if it is genetical, or if genetics have a role to play in our personality makeup, it means you can also pass it on to your children. So when you observe that in children, you start with yourself first, deal with your own problem that you have identified, and you can only deal with it when you know it. If you don't know it, then there is no starting point at all. So when you know it, you work on yourself, you work on your
On your
children.
child.
Also, we talk about the environmental factors. Now, this one is to an extent within your power to control. Okay? Keep your eyes on the kind of friends he or she keeps. Pick interest in in his friends or in her friends. Also, pick interest in the things he does. Okay, reading. Be interested. How are you today? Let me see. What are you reading? You know, in that way, you know what he's reading, and then you're able to guide or, you know, put him on the straight path. Also, be mindful of peer pressure. The peers, what do they do to him? What do they say to him? You know, but when you take time to listen to your child, or you strike a kind of conversation with your child every day, you'll be able to get one or two of these things, the things they say to him, and then you'll be able to correct as you should.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You see, nobody's perfect, but we're striving for perfection. There are certain traits that may be in the parents that are not healthy for the children. I think the first thing is to try and see how you can work on yourself. Try to see how you can eliminate some of those bad behaviors. And sometimes unconsciously, you may even display some of those behavior before children that you're supposed to be molding. It happens. Maybe driving on the road, you see all kinds of situations. Somebody insults you as you are driving, even when actually you have done nothing wrong. Sometimes, you know, unconsciously you may even respond before the children. And you know, before you know what's happening, you start having a guilty conscience. Why did I respond? I shouldn't have responded. Children suck when you did waka to that person. It's not good.
Okay.
Sometimes there's nothing wrong in apologizing to our children. See, this thing I've done is wrong. Please, I don't encourage any of you to behave that way. I'm very sorry.
Okay,
I'm not
so
supposed to do that.
when we have done something,
Yes,
we don't want
children
to
imbibe.
see in our children to imbibe.
Yeah.
We need to explain to them
Mm.
that we are actually behaving in a wrong or unacceptable manner,
Yes.
so they know that that is wrong.
Yes.
All right. So there are some children these days who are not just interested in academics. Sometimes you even hear them say, "I don't want to go to school." They don't show interest in academics, but when it comes to other things, maybe social activities and all that, they are more interested. How do you, a parent who is asking, how do I boost interest, or how do I, maybe my child is not performing well, what can I do to improve on their performance?
I believe as the child is growing up, you have to help the child. I will give a practical example. None of my children went to school earlier than 3 years. I have 4 of them.
Okay.
The first one, I really took time, you know, to work on her. When I'm in the kitchen, I'll give her things to write. When she was just 2 years, and when she got admission to nursery school. In fact, the day we went to buy the phone, we went in July to buy the phone, and we bought the phone. So as we were passing, she just peeped and saw children sitting in class. She ran inside and sat there. I called, let's go, let's go, let's go. She refused. The teacher now asked me to leave her, that she would go after school, that she would come and pick her. That was how I left. She was just looking at me. I left. Then when she started school in September, her report, I still have it. When I want to make fun, I just bring it out. The teacher wrote that Blessing doesn't talk much, but surprisingly she can identify all the letters and numbers 1 to 100, and that's how she started. So interested in school. I worked on the first one and the second one. Then the third child, I was not too serious. The third and the last, I was not too serious with them as I was with these other ones. And I discovered that when they started school, they went to the same school, but they were finding it a bit difficult. The last one especially was coming 20-something, out of 30. At times you see 25. At times you see, but the average is good, but the position. And then one day, like that, I just decided that, let me give her attention. So she closes 12:30. The others close 2:30. So what I do, by 12:30, I normally leave them and come for all of them before. So by 12:30, I rush to the school, pick her. We stay in the car, check her assignment, revise whatever they have taught for that day. And at the end of that term, she came 16th, and they gave her prize for remarkable progress.
Wow.
So she was so happy. That was how she picked up. So we should give them attention. In those days, this social media was not so, and the television programs was not even so much like that. But I invested in materials. There was this learning how to read by Mrs. Philip. Is this old cassette players? They were, I think, about 5 in that series. I bought how to solve maths. That one, about 5 series. I bought, and all the time, they keep watching. That was what they kept watching, and that was how they picked up. So we as parents should invest. Storybooks.
Okay.
Storybooks. These little storybooks. Buy for them, and read it.
That's outside their academic
yes.
Materials.
Yes, buy storybooks. And then when they come back from school, make sure. In fact, my children, when they come back, as they are dropping their bags, they are starting their homework. You will be calling them, come and eat, come and eat. So that was how they grew up. So if you instill that discipline in them from when they are young, they will grow up and find it easy in life.
Okay. So in her own case, she began and they have caught up. There are some parents who are doing everything and the child doesn't like anything that has to do with school. What can you do to boost? And maybe for those who have not even started and the child is not performing well and they are thinking, so where I am now, what do I do to go forward?
Well, thank you very much for that question. First of all, as parents, we must live up to our responsibilities. We must ensure that you put children in the good schools. And there are all kinds of schools now. Good schools may not necessarily be the most costly school. There are so many things to look out for in a good school.
What are those things to look out for?
Well, the kind of teachers that are in that school, the kind of facilities that are available in that school, the level of supervision that goes on in that school. There are some school owners that don't even show up there at all. They are doing whatever they are doing. If you have a school where the proprietor or proprietress comes around, he has put a mechanism to supervise what is going on in the school and getting regular feedbacks and all that, and so many other factors. But the point I'm making is that put children in good schools and live up to your obligations. There are some parents that don't pay school fees. You see, children are being driven from school and all that. It has a lot of psychological effects on the children. And then, coming to the home, you must provide educational materials too for the children. School is not totally, will not take complete responsibility for the upbringing or the education of the child. The school has their role to play. You as parents also must complement the efforts of the school. Just like our auntie here just mentioned, when children come back from school, you have to check what they are doing. You have to help them, guide them to do their homeworks and all that. It's very, very important. Don't think that because you have put them in school, that's all. Some parents don't even look at the works their children are doing and all that. You need to be checking what they are doing and guiding them as much as possible. And I want to say this: there's no child that is completely a dullard or a child that is written off completely. This child is no. Every child, irrespective of the level of mental development, has a capacity to excel if given the right environment. Once a healthy environment is provided, that child can excel. So all we need to do as parents to boost academic excellence is to provide all that is required for the development of a child. Have educational books, have ICT materials. And then it's important also to note that, these days, children after the school hours, some schools enter into what they call lesson.
Extra lesson.
If a child comes to school from 8 to like 1:32, is enough for the day. Once the child comes home, he should rest.
But sometimes
Rest is also very
even
important.
the teachers in these schools that recommend these extra lessons
Well,
for those kids who are not performing well.
Well, but what we're saying is we must be mindful of overworking the brains of the child because they are still young and the brain is still developing.
Yeah.
After those long hours of studies, what is expected is that the child should rest. When you rest later in the evening, you can now begin to talk about homework, guiding them, putting them through their whatever. At a stretch, it has a lot of effect on the brain of the child. Because after those long hour lessons, you come home again. Parents are also homework again and all that. So it can be a problem.
Okay, let's say from you.
Okay. You made mention of someone who is yet to be in school and he or she does not seem to be interested in education. Now, from the beginning, it's very crucial that the parents make school very interesting to the children as they are growing up. Sometimes you play videos, that show things like, I'm going to school, learning is fun. They see the activities that go on in school. Children play, they laugh. They see that the teachers are not harsh like that. They see that children go to school with food. It can be so interesting. So I can also eat my food in school and also play with toys in school. Those are the early, ways of encouraging these children before they even get into school. And then when the child, has started school and it's like along the line he or she is drawing back and becoming so uninterested in going to school, then you begin to check for some factors within the school there. Okay, you check for these factors. Now, what's the relationship between the teachers and the learners? What's the relationship among learners themselves?
Is there bullying?
What's the atmospheric condition of that school? You need to check. I'm not talking about environmental conditions. Those ones are also there. The environmental will lead you to things like chairs, the classroom, how conducive is the classroom, like that. But the atmospheric condition has to do with, the kind of influence or the things that go on within the school. How is the relationship between the teacher and the learners? Do they scold? Do they beat them? Do they call them names? Do they compare them to others? Do you allow them to talk freely? Do you operate an open door policy in your school? If you don't have all those things in place in the correct way, then you've not started. children will begin to run away from school and they go to home to tell their parents they have stomach ache
I don't
when
want to go to
actually they
school.
don't have stomach ache. When they
Mm.
begin to show such traits, go back to the school and make your inquiries. But in doing this, you have to be very subtle about it. You don't need to come out
Yeah.
and say, "What are you doing to my child?" It won't
Yeah.
work. So you also have to be intentional about making academic very interesting, making learning fun for your child. And if you discover that the place where he or she is going for training at his school is not, does not capture the right kind of atmosphere that you want in the life of your child, or that will enhance learning in the life
Mm.
of that child, then you begin to think of changing to a place that will suit your purpose and that of the child.
Wow. So it's very important for parents to investigate
Yes.
the atmosphere in the schools that they have their children. This is really interesting because very recently we have cases of kids who were in some schools and there was bullying and some even lost their lives. So I think that if parents actually do this investigation, they can actually avoid some of these things, or they might even draw the attention of the yes.
Another way of making these inquiries is to engage in friendly talks with these children when they come back from school. Do you just tell them, "Welcome back, drop your books, eat your food, do your homework"? No. Say them, "How was school today? Did you enjoy school today? What did you learn? How did you learn it?" Things like that. It may look as if you want to know what went on in school. Yes, it's correct. They are your children. You need to know what's going on with them.
Mm.
Another thing is, there are different ways children learn. Some learn through the lecture method. When you tell them, they catch it immediately.
Yeah.
While some need to see it, and some they need to touch whatever you are teaching. You know. So if they are in a school that all these activities are not there, and all the different ways of learning are
Not available.
so you find out that the child will not be doing well. If your child is the one that wants to see before he learns, and they are just teaching, telling them from time to time, you discover that he will not do well. So you as a parent, you must study these children and know their own method of learning. So that if they teach them from school and they come back home, knowing their method of learning, you can create activities, around
Supplement
it.
with that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of work that parents need to do. So because of our time, we're just going to tell us about the early indicators of a successful life. Because so many parents want to know. Some parents have challenges with their kids now who have become adults. And then there are parents now that tell you of things of my kid just picked up my phone and did transfers of large sums of money from their accounts. There are children who scam their parents now, and they ask the question that where did I actually get it wrong? What went wrong? For somebody asking that question, very what would be your answer to that person before you tell us about the indicators of a successful future?
Okay. Um, I would, tell such parents that all hope is not lost. That no matter how far that child has gone on that path that you do not like or that is not right, you can also make him to, have a change of mind. And then I'll also let the parents know that these things start from, the moment they are given birth to. You begin to mold their character from that point. Okay, I was telling somebody like 2 days ago that when you're raising a child, the child is just a day old, 2 months, 3 months, and then when the child is breastfeeding and he or she puts the gum on the nipple of the mother, what they do is they look at your face and then see whether you will smile, or see any sign of, not approving what they are doing. Then they know what to do. When they say that all you do is smile, next time he or she continues. That is how it starts. Or when you give them something, instead of taking it politely, particularly when they are angry and they are throwing tantrums, you just contain it, you keep quiet. It starts from that point. Now, when these children go up, they see that nobody is disapproving of this my actions. They see it as a correct thing. When they see toys with other children and they take it, instead of you telling them this is not yours, please drop it. You tell them, cry if you take it away from him. That is how it
You're
starts.
encouraging it.
Yes, you are encouraging that kind of negative behavior. So when all those things are checked, eventually you come up with a child that although he has that nature in him to be a bully, to be somebody who does not take correction, he or she will know that you've never approved of that kind of character, and he or she will stop it.
Actually, the bulk of the blame is on the parents, is on us. So if you discover that you went wrong in bringing them up, apologize. All these children want to see is honesty. Nobody is perfect. We are not perfect, but we are striving onto perfection. So when you miss it, you let them know, as they are growing up. And then one other thing I discovered is that because we suffered when we were growing up, we shield our children. We say we don't want them to suffer. Whatever they want, you give them. I was reading somewhere, a very influential man, was interviewed, and they were asking him that, you grew up like this in the midst of affluence. Why is it that you are so simple? He said his parents, when they were growing up, told them that whatever they have at home is either a tool or an idol. So they grew up looking at everything at home as a tool. It did not become an idol to them. So that is why they grew up very simple. Because we suffered and we are shielding these children, whatever they want, we give them. Whatever they want, we give them. Anything they say, we give them. We don't correct them. When they correct them, some go to the extent of going to school to confront teachers for spanking your child. When a child is insulting your house help, you keep quiet. You will grow up with the thinking that nobody should, apart from mommy and daddy,
Nobody should correct you.
So if a child should insult the house help, make sure that he apologizes.
A child who picked up the parents' phone and made transfers, or picked up the ATM card and went and withdrew money from the parents' account without their knowledge, stole. What will you say that the parents should do so that the child can stop such a behavior?
I think it doesn't have to go to that extent of calling police person or whatever. These things can be handled through counseling. These days, children need, to be counseled. Sit them down, talk to them, and then as much as possible, let them see the consequences of their actions.
So
the money must have gone.
This
but,
counseling, is it going to be done by a professional or the parents to do that?
Sometimes you can give a referral.
Okay. In a situation where counseling has been done, the child has done this over and over and over. So what would they do in that situation?
Well, there are so many things to do. As parents, just like it was mentioned earlier, you continue to pray, because there's nothing God cannot do. And then you have to also continue to talk.
So you continue talking, and then the child never gets to. Okay, there was a scenario. Someone said something that was very interesting. He said that his uncle took his cousin on several visits to the correctional centers. We call our business now correctional centers, and he will take him and they will open this place, and then he will interview the prisoner. Why are you here? The prisoner will say, this is what happened. I went out one evening, I was just strolling and they just packed us up. Another place, someone else will say, okay, this is what I did, and I'm here, and the cousin was just following and just listening and all of that. The uncle did this when the guy was a teenager, and he had started misbehaving. So that after a while, this cousin of his started attending a particular fellowship that was close to the house. He started going to church, attending fellowship, and much later on, this guy said he wants to be a pastor. So the person telling us this was saying that he saw that people who misbehave in society, who are in prisons, who are in this correctional center, he saw the way they lived, and he didn't want to end up like that. So it was a subtle way of sending a message that this man adopted. So for him now, that was his way of dealing with that scenario.
I want to add something here too. Sometimes we expose them to these temptations. We expose them to these temptations, by making them have access to our phones or, ways of getting money. For instance, if you know that this child is such that does not have control over himself when he sees money, why do you keep your phone for that child to handle? Or why
Okay.
do you keep your checkbook for that kind of child? Why do you tell that child your
Or access to
password?
your ATM.
Particularly, you made mention of, the child has offended over and over again. You've talked, you've cancelled, you've done everything. Now it's time to keep away everything that you think can make this child to go that same way from him. You know, make sure that you reduce some privileges from him.
Mm.
Tell him that the money I would have used to do this, you have squandered them. So you have to live with the repercussion. I think when we don't expose them to temptations,
Consequence.
yes, when we don't expose them to some of these things that will make them fall, it will reduce the extent or the number of times they fall into these problems. So we also can shield these children from going into this act.
But that alone might not even be effective because they may go out there
Health
and somebody might leave their phone.
Mm.
They might even discover that someone forgot or misplaced an item and just pick it up as theirs. But I understand where you're coming from. Anyway, because of our time, we need to wrap up now. So very quickly, let's have your final thoughts on this.
To me, prevention is better than cure. Prevention. Parents should give attention to these children when they are growing up. We should not shield them. We should be one, united. If we say this is what's supposed to happen, let's both of us stand. Let's not go behind, especially the mothers.
Yeah.
Let's not go behind.
All right, let's have your final thoughts
Thank you
on
very
this.
much. I think my final words in this matter is very simple. The issue of children, upbringing, their education. We have to, be watchful. Watchful. What I mean by being watchful is to be vigilant. Know the kind of friends your children are keeping. Sometimes you can do a good work at home. The whole effort can be rubbished by peers. So be watchful, know the kind of friends they are keeping. Sometimes pay them unscheduled visits in the hostel. The kind of life they live on the campus sometimes can be different from what they are showing you at home. So look at the kind of people that surround them, the friends they keep and all that. Then secondly, the issue of prayer, we cannot undermine that. Very, very important. Continue to pray for them. Sometimes they are not within our reach. It's only God that is keeping them.
Yeah.
Continue to pray that God will help them. Holy Spirit of God will order their step, direct them. Where they should not go, they will not go and all that. And then lastly, I will say keep talking. Keep talking, keep counseling, keep advising. Even at my age, even at my age, that time my dad was alive, each time I go, we still counsel. Look at me as a child. How are you relating with your wife? How are you coping? I hope no problem. I say, what problem are you expecting? So even at that age, she kept talking until she passed on. So let's continue. Let's not be tired. Continue to advise, continue to counsel. It's our duty.
It's a good one, man. Your final thoughts.
All right. I think all we need to do is to be intentional about shaping the destiny of our children. Let's be very deliberate. We shouldn't leave it to chance. Don't leave anything to chance as a parent. Map out your strategies from the beginning. As soon as you notice you are pregnant, work has started. Map out your strategies. Map out the strategies and make sure that you execute them and supervise those children, monitor them so that they can turn out to be people whose potentials will be, maximized, and they will be responsible people of worth that will be impactful in the society where they live in.
Wow, thank you so much for that. You need to map out the strategy. We have been listening to Professor Adejo Musa James and his wife, Dr. Gloria Otini Adejo. They are both staff of Joseph Sanwo Antaka University, Makudi, and Mrs. Grace Tokula, who is with the Child Evangelical Fellowship here in Makudi. Thank you so much for being with us on the program. The Bible makes us understand that children are arrows in a quiver of a person. Now, like she said, you need to have a strategy because children are projects. And for those who did well on that, We have a lot of people who are solving problems for us now, who are have a lot of strategies that are helping nations and the territories where they are domiciled. And most of them were intentional about their lives and their futures. And if you do not have a parent, if you're someone who doesn't have anyone watching over you, you can also shape your destiny. Overall, everyone can do everything, but if you as a person does not want to be successful, it will still not happen. So we are encouraging you today to be intentional about your life, and by the grace of God, you will end up with success. So that's our package for today. We'll be with you again. My name is Seris Aga. Do have a lovely day. Bye.
So I'm teaching Moka for the Solomon Fa Kayima. Go to Papa and a ham Buddha Yavani Mongo. It's a Beno TV guy.
Yekun leku chifata Ochoga. Ngwahi doma. Anuya nungemu joki doma. Loi beche ngwipinu oko kaku Benue TV.
Enyam Ali Henry Onda Ipolele.